Welcome to Volunteer Orientation Step 2. We pick back up on page 11 of your handbook. In Step 2, we share more about the animal shelter operations. Our shelter received nearly 3,000 animals last year, and one of the first questions we get from new volunteers is, where do they all come from? Some are lost or separated from their families. Owners can experience unexpected hardships that may have changed their ability to properly care for their pets. Some animals are left behind and abandoned. Others are simply no longer wanted. We do animal intakes at the facility, and some are brought in by animal control. Animal control officers respond to calls for service that are received through the animal shelter and through the county's 911 dispatch center. These calls may be pinned strays that have been confined by Boone County residents, or may be animals that are found running at large by the officers. Some are surrendered by their owners. Some may have been taken into protective custody through animal cruelty cases, or the animal may be part of an aggressive animal case. Animal control rescued or picked up over 1,100 animals last year. Animals coming through our front door are typically found by Good Samaritans and brought in out of concern for the animal. Some are brought in by their owner, who could no longer care for them or no longer wanted them. And some are brought in due to terminal illness or injury or unmanageable aggression. Upon admission, certain considerations are made. State and local law require us to house stray animals to give the owners an opportunity to find them. Stray dogs are held for 5 days, stray cats 3 days, and if an animal is received with a microchip or tags, it's held a minimum of 14 days. Animals that are surrendered by their owners can be immediately made available for adoption. Feral and community cats are those cats that have reverted back to a wild state or live outside and have no known owner. These cats are typically spayed or neutered, vaccinated, and returned to their home territory. Unwanted litters with and without mom require special care, so they are directly moved into our foster care program. Generally speaking, there are 4 types of outcomes for animals received at the shelter: adoption, return to their owner, euthanasia, or a rescue transfer. Adoptions are conducted at the facility and at various locations throughout our community, through our adoption wagon program and through satellite partners. Applicants must be at least 18 years of age. And for young adults still living at home, we must have their parents' permission. They can't have any previous animal control issues. And if they're renters, property owners' consent must be obtained. Reuniting lost pets with their family is an important part of the services provided at the shelter. Returning a pet to the owner can be facilitated through Good Samaritans, officers in the field, or at the facility over the counter. These reunions are most often made possible when an animal is found with a microchip or identification tags. We provide online services where an owner can go and search our database to see if their pet is in our shelter. And you can file lost and found reports through our website. Euthanasia is conducted when an animal is found to have a terminal illness or injury. These are received at the shelter by their owners or through animal control. Dangerous and aggressive animals are also euthanized. These animals pose a risk to public safety. This can be done at the request of an owner, a court order, or if an animal is deemed dangerous through a shelter behavior assessment. On occasion, the decision to euthanize may be due to a lifelong condition where we lack the needed resources. Rescue transfers are when an animal in the shelter's care is transferred to another nonprofit organization for rehoming. These rescues might specialize in a particular breed or in any breed of animal, or they may just deal with certain species. Our shelter currently works with 56 outside rescue organizations and shelters to find homes and resources for our animals. Several considerations must be taken into account when making decisions on how and if we can help an animal. Does the animal pose a health or safety risk to other animals? Does the animal pose a health or safety risk to people? Can our organization safely house and provide the needed resources? Each decision is unique, and every animal deserves and receives individual consideration. Shelter medicine and private practice are two different types of veterinarian care. In private veterinary practice, your veterinarian makes decisions based on your individual animal's needs. In shelter medicine, decisions are made based on the health and well-being of all the animals in the facility. This is also known as herd health. At intake, every dog and cat received at the shelter is given a health exam, vaccinated, and receives treatment for parasites if needed. We also provide around-the-clock emergency medical support for sick and injured animals. We treat shelter animals for minor illnesses and injuries, upper respiratory infection, and heartworms, and we provide spay-neuter services for shelter animals. As you can imagine, the shelter is buzzing with activities all day long. Our ability to help our animals each day is linked directly to the number of hands helping us. How can you get involved? There are a number of volunteer opportunities available. We are always in need of foster parents, customer service care, assistance with administrative duties, general sheltering, and website photography. Of the thousands of animals received each year, there are all types and species: birds, puppies, even hedgehogs, and some arrive in horrible condition. Because of these special needs, they may not all be available for adoption, or they may be available but not to the general public. You'll learn more about the different statuses an animal can have during upcoming training classes. We ask that you don't photograph or tell people about animals that are not available as yet. Often the animals are in an evaluation process and have simply not been moved to the adoption floor for various reasons. However, some animals are being held as evidence in law enforcement cases, and confidentiality is critical to that case. Foster parents are a special kind of volunteer. They give our animals the rest, grow time, and recovery needed to get them prepared for our adoption program. Our foster program is overseen by a licensed veterinary technician. We will provide you with special training, supplies, and all the support that you need to become a successful foster parent. Nearly 16,000 visitors come through our shelter each year. Taking good care of our customers is part of finding good homes for our shelter animals. Whether you're greeting them at the door with a smile or serving as an adoption counselor, each person plays a vital role in the adoption process. Administrative volunteers are those that assist with office or administrative duties. Some of the duties include follow-up calls for adopters, data entry, or organizational activities. General sheltering is the everyday activities of caring for the animals. There is always dishes and laundry to wash, dogs to be bathed, and shy animals who need special attention. So, tell me, which of these animals have the best chance of adoption? Our web and social media presence has played a large role in increasing the number of lives saved at the Boone County shelter. The right picture can make all the difference. As we've mentioned, volunteers are vital to our ability to care for the animals. Determining the degree of assistance depends primarily on the number of people available each day. This includes people at the shelter, foster home availability, and adoption wagon teams. Planning and scheduling each volunteer's role in daily activities tells us from day to day which animals we can help and how. Communication between you and the volunteer manager and your team leaders will allow us to make adjustments as needed. Please contact the volunteer manager or team leader as soon as possible if you're unable to fill your shift. This can be done by phone or email. And if you've missed more than 6 weeks, talk to the volunteer manager before scheduling a shift. This is to make sure that you're up to date on the latest information and that there hasn't been any major changes. When you come in for your shelter tour, you'll be given a login for our Shelter Buddy program. Shelter Buddy is accessible to anyone with an internet connection. From here, you can look at and schedule shifts available. We'll communicate with you about severe weather through our Facebook, email, and through our voicemail system by calling our volunteer manager. And through Shelter Buddy, we'll be able to communicate about our holiday schedule. It's extremely important for our volunteers and staff to dress and appear in a way that reflects health, safety, and professionalism. First impressions by part are a visual one. Always be neat, clean, well-groomed and appropriate, and moderate in nature. You'll receive an ID badge and t-shirt the first day you're scheduled. Please wear your ID badge at all times. The t-shirt is optional, but is preferred when you're working events or working directly with the public. Long pants and closed-toe shoes are mandatory at all times. No heels, flip-flops, or sandals are permitted. And no shorts or capri are permitted during the summer months. This is for safety reasons. Cover as much skin as possible. Also keep in mind that loose clothes can get hung up on cages. We don't recommend wearing large loops or dangling earrings because they can get caught and torn out. Plus, some animals think they're toys. There are a few volunteer guidelines we should review. You're not permitted to use our name or logo in any printed or electronic media without written permission. This is to ensure that our brand and message are consistent. Smoking is in designated areas only, away from the public view. The building is a smoke-free area. This is also a drug-free workplace. Drug use simply isn't tolerated. Volunteer and staff relations are critical to our daily operations. We value the contributions our volunteers make on behalf of animal care, and we recognize that you have a legitimate interest in how we work on behalf of the animals. We recognize that volunteers will have strong feelings about procedures and decisions, such as euthanasia or adoptions. It's essential that those feelings are expressed in the appropriate manner. The shelter is committed to transparency in its operation and will be truthful in all questions. Periodic meetings and continual education opportunities are the place where these topics can be discussed and addressed. They'll be held multiple times throughout the year. It's important to understand the reason behind the decisions or the policies. Many times concerns can be resolved through a polite inquiry of a shelter member. You may also choose to go to our volunteer liaison, volunteer manager, or the facility director with any issues. Inappropriate behavior may result in disciplinary action up to and including dismissal. Corrective and disciplinary measures' primary objective is to improve operations, and this includes failure to report injury or break in confidentiality. Contact with the news media is overseen and directed by the facility director. So if you're approached, you may want to redirect them to the director. Volunteer opportunities are available in different levels. Level 1, or the green level, is general housekeeping, laundry, greeters, and foster parents who are fostering for space or upper respiratory care. To be a foster parent, you must complete the green level foster training. All volunteers must complete the blue level animal training prior to handling any dogs or cats. Level 2, the blue level, are kennel and cattery aides, adoption counselors, restricted dog walkers and cat companions, office assistants, animal handlers on the adoption wagon, animal bathers, special events and fundraising, photography, animal transporters, and foster parents who do foster care for medical cases. Level 3, or the purple level, are volunteers with more extensive training and experience. They're team leaders, unrestricted dog walkers, behavior modification assistants, foster parents who conduct behavior modification, groomers, and computer assistants. Level 4, or our gold level, is our volunteer liaison and our volunteer management team. Every animal in the facility has a kennel card that gives you general information about each animal. On the card you can find the animal's ID number and their current status. You can find their current location in the facility, general description and information about the animal's arrival and when it's available for adoption. If the animal is an adoption return, it will also include the reason for return. Some will have an adoption summary, and they'll also tell you what vet treatments the animal has received. Some animals in our care have special kennel signs. This is our way to communicate with you their special needs. You'll find signs that say no food and water, surgery. These are animals that are being fasted for surgery the next morning. It'll indicate if they're under any medical treatment or if the animal has had surgery and its movements are limited. For instance, only short walks or no walks at all. If you see a contagious sign, this means that the animal could be contagious to other animals or people or both, so no touching. Stress could be another reason for limiting contact for an animal. We may just want to give them cool down time. Demodex is a type of mange that we treat here at the shelter. It looks horrible, but it's not contagious, so we feel that special signs are needed to let you know that. Unrestricted only are to identify animals that are more difficult to handle and should only be handled by the more experienced volunteers. This is a diagram of our animal shelter. You'll find a copy of it on page 20 in your volunteer handbook. The blue zones are areas that are open to the general public during normal business hours. The green zones are areas open to volunteers. Our purple areas are those zones for staff and volunteers with higher levels of experience and training. And the orange zones are for staff only. The dog and puppy rooms are areas where we house animals that can come in contact with the general public. We communicate their ease of handling and restrictions through a clothespin system. Green indicates that the dog is okay to walk and can leave the perimeter fence to go down to the exercise yard. Yellow means that the dog is most likely still under a mandated holding period. It can be walked but must stay inside the perimeter fence, and it may not go down to the exercise yard. Red means the dog can't be walked at all. There are a few times that you'll see a red pen. Most often it's females in heat. These are photos of our cat adoption room. And this is a photo of our receiving area. This is the area where we house quarantines, aggressive animals, and animals that are being held under court cases. Newly arriving dogs will also go into this area until we complete their health and temperament assessment and before being moved over to the adoption floor. The administrative office is where all of our administrative duties take place, issuing license and conducting general business. We also field phone calls and dispatch our officers from this area. There are some signs of common illnesses that need to be reported to shelter staff as soon as they are recognized. Loss of appetite, crying, whining, or growling, scratching, head shaking, if you notice difficulty or uncontrolled urination, discoloration or changes in their stool, eyes that are red, blinking, running, or have any discharge, vomiting, a dry coat, decreased activity or limpness, sneezing with yellow or green nasal discharge, or coughing. Please report any of these things to staff immediately. It's important that we start treatment as soon as possible. Congratulations! You've completed volunteer orientation. So what's your next step? Go back to the bookmark page and schedule your shelter tour. We should be in touch to confirm your date and time within 48 hours. If not, get in touch with us. You'll find contact information on page 27 of your volunteer handbook. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to working with you.